may shine a light to a darkened world, and always lead the truth in every way. May your love for me be seen by everyone, and lead others to trust and love you more. Oh Lord, transform me, change my heart completely to be more like you. Oh Lord, renew me, heal my mind and broken heart today. I want to be and to do what you commanded, and be filled with the Spirit every day. I want to serve you wherever you may lead me. I want to serve you till the very end. Oh Lord, transform me, change my heart completely to be more like you. Oh Lord, renew me, heal my mind and broken heart today. I want to be and to do what you commanded, and be filled with the Spirit every day. I want to serve you wherever you may lead me. I want to serve you till the very end. Lord, transform me to serve. Lord, transform me to serve.
My hand moaneth by reason of affliction, Lord. I have called daily upon thee. I have stretched out my hands unto thee, O God. Did I just hear you say, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted? Just the answer I needed. God is so good. Good night and welcome to another episode of Youth Live Unplugged. We're excited to bring another topic with you, an exciting topic. And already we have a number of persons joining us on Facebook and YouTube. You have been given your Sabbath greetings, and we are so happy for that. Now, when we think about it, we are experiencing so many changes in our lives. Isn't that true? We call it the new norm. Tonight, we're focusing on the topic, I did not get to say goodbye. And we have some panelists ready to share their experience, and others who are willing to share how to cope in moments like this. But just before we do this, let's join our hearts and voices as we have our song service.
Happy Sabbath, everyone.
Happy Sabbath.
It is the Sabbath day of rest and gladness, and we are here to express our love to God through worship, praise, and adoration. So, let us begin by singing our first hymn, which is Holy Day, Jehovah's Rest, because we are glad for the Sabbath.
Amen.
First and last stanza. Holy day, Jehovah's rest, all creation wait the rest. Last of all the chosen seven, bless of God to man 'twas given. Welcome, That is wonderful singing. Now let's go on to another hymn, 528, 528, A Shelter in the Time of Storm. The lawns are rock, in him we hide, a shelter in the time of storm. Secure whatever may betide, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty rock, mighty, mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on the burning sand. Faithful guide for the pilgrim's band, a shelter in the time of storm. Last stanza. O rock divine, O refuge dear, a shelter in the time of storm. Be thou our help forever near, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty, mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on the burning sand. Faithful guide for the pilgrim's band, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty, mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on the burning sand. Faithful guide for the pilgrim's band, a shelter in the time of storm. Wonderful singing. Our next hymn is 518, 518, Standing on the Promises of God. Standing on the promises of Christ my King, through eternal ages let His praises ring. Glory in the highest I will shout and sing. I am standing on the promises of God. Standing on the promises of Christ my Savior. Standing. I'm standing on the promises of God. Standing on the promises of Christ. Standing on the promises of Christ my Savior. Standing. I'm standing on the promises of God. Happy
Singing. Now it's good to see when families join together and sing praises, honoring God for what He has done and what He is doing in their life. Now, for those of you who joined in, I am sure you truly enjoyed. Now, very early, I saw a person saying Happy Sabbath. I'm seeing Alex Johnson, Hamish Daniel, Ruby Murray, Alfred. I'm seeing Ann Hopkins, Colin Doughton, so many persons. But guess what? You are on, and some of your friends and family are not on to enjoy such a wonderful program. So take a moment, like, share the page, probably copy the link, send it on your WhatsApp, put it on your WhatsApp status, let other persons come and join as we share in this experience, spirit-led and spirit-filled. Now, over the past 5.5 months, I've seen many memes on Facebook, and persons have been sending jokes on WhatsApp or maybe Instagram posts asking for 2020 to start over. Some persons have even said this must be a joke. When is the real 20 lovely Spice Isle? Maybe from the mainland territory of Guyana, Trinidad, maybe from Leeward Islands, Windward Islands, other Caribbean territories, or the rest of the world. You must understand what I am talking about. And tonight's program, we're focusing on I did not get to say goodbye. Now, we have persons who have been turning to God, renewing their relationships in this time. Some persons have been not been able to handle the pressure associated with COVID-19. Apart from that, we've had many loved ones who became sick and were admitted to the hospital. Now, being in the hospital is one thing, but when you cannot visit your relative, you cannot be there to change their clothing or feed them, it's another sad reality associated with COVID-19. But even worse than that is having a relative die during this period without you getting, one, to visit them at the hospital to spend final hours with them, or two, being able to attend the funeral service. Why? Because in many cases, funeral service have been minimized to 10 persons. Persons see the funeral service as a time to say goodbye. It's a closure. And without getting to say goodbye, some persons are sad. Now, the question tonight is, how do we deal with grief? Now, we're not just talking about persons dying within the Caribbean. We're talking about persons dying all around the world. And maybe by chance, I believe that each one of us may know of a family who has experienced this. As I sit before you tonight, I know because I lost my father-in-law recently without having the opportunity to visit him at the hospital or being close with the family during the funeral service. What about you? If you've had an experience like that, we want you to send a message. Type something either on the YouTube page or on the Facebook page. Now, you've heard either you want to snap your finger, you want to shout hallelujah, do something as our two young men introduce themselves to you.
Good night, everyone. My name is Keshawn. I hail from the village of Montrose, St. Patrick's. I work with a block making company and I like helping people.
All right, pleasant good evening to everyone. It's a privilege to be here to share my experience. My name is Lambert Paul. I'm the pastor of the Western One District. I work with the Grenada Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. And it's a privilege to be here tonight to share my experience and how I have dealt and is dealing with grief, and how others can be motivated and inspired of how to deal with grief, especially in times like these. I thank you again.
All right. Right, so you see Maureen, and when we come back, I want somebody else on the panel to share who they've seen on our YouTube page. At this time, we take
Step 2. Select the app, then tap on the search icon. Step 3. Type in Mission Live GND and complete your search. Step 4. Select our Mission Live GND channel and subscribe. After you have successfully subscribed, tap the little bell icon and select all. You will be notified whenever we go live. If you are still experiencing difficulties in finding our live stream, please tap on videos and you will be directed to our most recent video feeds. Thank you for subscribing.
in the afternoon, we have Wednesday night services going on. We come back on Friday nights, and between those nights, we also have some crusades going on GBB Ministry. So we want you to keep tuned in to Mission Live. Don't miss anything, or get on Facebook and check out GBB Ministry. So we're looking forward to see you tomorrow morning also. Now, every time we sign on to any of the Mission Live programs, we usually hear a song and we'll see something in that. Now, we have a challenge. We want to have our own Mission Live. We have some questions for you. Are you ready? Ready? Again, try to remember what's our topic. Such a long name. Shadina Scott, Jerlyn Bud, so many persons are on, and I know you're ready for the quiz. So let's get started. Our first question, Pastor Paul, I want you to tune in with me at this, Pastor Paul. I'm handing over the responsibility of the quiz to Pastor Paul at the moment. So Pastor Paul, are you ready? All right. Okay. Thank you, Pastor. Be sure I will be coming back to you. I've not gotten away there. Our first question. After my terrible battle with grief, God blessed me twofold. Who am I? You can see the question on the screen. I'm looking for some responses here. I'm on the Facebook page. All right, we have a number of happy Sabbaths, people sending greetings. We're still waiting for the answer. Wow. Do you know I'm scrolling. It's so much persons, but we're only on 248. Wow, I'm seeing Job. Job. I have to have a lot of patience in order to read through all the Jobs that I'm seeing. And I want you to know that you are correct. The answer is Job. I'm going to number two. This towering Old Testament character, Grieving, their spouse after their spouse died in Kiriath, right? So, hello, Bernadette Atkin, Shema Francis, Sally Moras, Colin Dalton. We are moving on, waiting. All right, we are at number two. Some persons are typing in, trying to pronounce that name and typing it quickly into the devices to look for the answer. All right. So remember, it's in Genesis.
So is Abraham, right? And you can find the answer in Genesis chapter 23 and verse. Makers, for they shall be the children of God. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Plenty blessings, right? But we're dealing with blessed are they that mourn, and blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. What number of the beatitude is that? Right? What number of the beatitude is that? All right, waiting on your responses. All right, we are waiting. All right, as we look at some of the responses that come in so far, right? Somebody said the fifth one, they said the second one, the second one, the second one, the fifth one. All right. Okay, so it's the second one, all right? So it's the second one, and we have plenty of people getting it, but some people are saying the fifth one, but it is the second one. Him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none of them spake a word. And who are the individuals that sat down with him? All right, so yes, the person was grieving was Job, I say Job and his friends, Job and his friends. Right, Job and his friends, Job and his friends. These are the responses that come in. So what were his friends' names? What are their names? What are their names? All right, what are the names of his friends? All right, they said his friends, but the friends had names. So what were their names? All right. So we are waiting. All right, they're saying just Job and his friends. Yeah, the friends have names. Everybody's saying Job. Sally says friends. Neil Fast said friends. Catherine Phillips says friends. Shirley Jones says friends. Right, so what were the names of his friends? His friends had names. What were their names? All right, what were their names? So we're waiting here. The person who was grieving, indeed, it was Job, but who were his friends? Who were they? All right, still waiting. The friend name had to spell. I'm sorry, I can't even tell you send a voice note. So try your best. I'll try to translate it. All right, somebody say his friend's name was H-E-P. All right, somebody say Eliphaz. Okay, Eliphaz, Bildad. All right, okay. All right. All right, so we're missing one. Eliphaz, Bildad, and there's last one. All right, there's the last one. So we're waiting for the last one. Right. And the last one, Leslie Ann Phillips says, is Zophar, right? So these were the names of Job's friends. And Job went through a very difficult time of grief. But despite that, he was able to be comforted by God. Okay. And we have the final one, the final question. It says, for this is a gracious thing when mindful of God, one endures justly. Where is this taken from? I repeat. So listen very attentively. It says, for this is a gracious thing when mindfully. All right. So I'm waiting. All right. So these are the same responses from the previous question. All right. So you say, for this is a gracious thing when mindful of God, one endures grief while suffering unjustly. Said Matthew. No, it wasn't Matthew. The disciple I'm speaking about was I think it was a fisherman. Yeah. So it's a small book in the New Testament. It's a small book. All right. Some Nova says 1 Peter. Well, you're getting there. 1 Peter. So you are getting there. You are very close. All right. So the other should piggyback on it. All right. So the other should piggyback on 1 Peter. Somebody say Peter. Yeah. But there is 1 Peter. There is 2 Peter. So you have to say where it is taken from. So yes, it is 1 Peter. So I'm helping you on now. 1 Peter. Yeah, it is 1 Peter. Right. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 19. Reliable rock. Reliable rock says 1 Peter 2 and verse 19. And that's where it is taken from. So I thank you very much for participating in the quiz, and may we continue to trust God. Even when we go through difficult times, knowing that the God of the mountain is the God of the valley, and the God in
sort of closure, but I still felt that I needed time to say goodbye. No, grief is not a sin. In fact, the Bible tells us that even Jesus wept. He knew what grief was. He experienced it. Now, I want to introduce again a young man by the name of Keshawn. And Keshawn, I want to ask you this question. Before COVID-19, did you lose anyone that was close to you before COVID-19 and before the social distancing where you can't visit? Did you lose someone who was close to you, Keshawn?
Yes, I have lost my brother before COVID-19. It was a couple of years ago. I have lost my brother. And if I should share the experience, it was a night and the news came that he was traveling with a boat and the boat had sunk. So immediately I rushed down to the seaside where the boat left off. And there were other people from the village there. And then we were searching the seashore. And then one guy that was on the boat, he came ashore, he swam ashore. So there, that gave us a bit of hope. And then we start searching, but it was night, we could not have seen nothing out there in the waves. All we could have heard was just the wave crashing and the wind blowing violently. And different stuff from the boat began to wash ashore. A shoe, a bag, a bottle, and we began to search the shore. And then we searched all night, and then it was almost time for daybreak. And in my mind, I was saying, well, yes, as soon as daylight, I would see who is out there, and I would be able to go out and rescue them. And then daybreak, the sun came up, and I went up on a very high, and that day turned into a week, and that week turned into a month. And I keep having hope that he's coming back until like I was about to set out to do some work. And when I was doing the work, I was like, hope that we would see them once more. So I reassure myself with that hope that I feel down. I would always direct myself to the text in Revelation 20.
And you can see persons in grief, but nobody is hugging. Some persons are giving a little elbow, some persons are waving from a distance. Now, Keshawn, I'm going back to you. Do you remember the days surrounding the immediate hours or days surrounding? Were there persons who were reaching out to you, maybe giving you a hug, giving you a pat on the back, being close to you, sitting with you and giving you comfort? And how did that feel?
Yes, there were many people came in to sympathize with me and my family. They came to support weeks after, as the search go on, they came to support and sympathize. But for me, I was thinking of it as they're thinking he's gone, and there was no one around to sympathize with me at that time. Thank Jesus for that.
And very devastating. And indeed, right about now, we have persons in Grenada who lost relatives. If you experience a death before COVID or during COVID, from your personal experience or your vantage point, do you believe talking about? You've had your experiences, you have your testimonies. Some of you right now may be going through a difficult time of grief. Some of you are mourning over the fact that you did not get to say goodbye. How can you cope with this? Now let's pause. As we listen to a monologue.
Sorry. Hi. This is my first entry to my video diary. My therapist thought I should try this to try to get my feelings out, seeing that it's kind of hard to express myself. Comfort each other. You can't pray together, holding each other together. You can't do any of it. And people who really love and care for her while she was alive, and they can't even be there because there's a limit to how many people can go to send her off. And it's been really hard just having to choose who could come to the funeral, you know. And then, I mean, they sent in tributes, but then we can't even play them all because the funeral has to be 30 minutes long, and everything just has to be quick and to the point and brief. And I can't deal with that, you know. There's not enough time. To try to find ways to not think about it as much, but it's you know. But that's all I have for now. Maybe we can try this again tomorrow. Yeah.
Right, we really thank you for giving that experience. It's a monologue, you know. And many people are just extending condolences, you know. Sometimes our experiences can be so real when you're relating something. But I just want to shout out some people on YouTube. Some people who are sending out their greetings. Indra Thomas is saying happy Sabbath, everyone. Nilsa Garcia, that's say hello, Pastor Lambert. That's all the way from Colombia, San Andres, Colombia. Trevor Joseph is saying happy Sabbath one and all. Jeremy Gibbs say happy Sabbath, Indra. And Indra is responding happy Sabbath, Jeremy. Edron Ledlow, but Ledlow's son all the way in the US, he's saying happy Sabbath all the way from the Ledlow family of Concord. When Ryan John is saying happy Sabbath, brethren. Michael A.K. Cooper is saying, well, that was First Peter, that was part of the response. Renisha Noel is saying, good night, everyone, happy Sabbath. Samuel Pascal is greeting. Edral Franklin is saying good night and happy Sabbath to all. Norma John is saying happy Sabbath. Earl Edwards say we have lots of problem tonight with the connection. Well, that's okay, but God is in control. You take charge of that. Jenny Plenty is saying good night and happy Sabbath to the Ledlow family. Ivan Fowler is saying happy Sabbath, everyone. Veronica Samuel says Satan rebuke you in Jesus' name. All right, and that's because the connection is giving some problem tonight. But there are many people out there who are sending their greetings and they are keeping connected. So we really thank you. I want to encourage you to share the page, like the page, so people can come on, because a lot of people are going through grief, not even on the loss of a loved one, but it might be their job, it might be finances and different things, even relationship, and they can learn tonight how they can cope with it. So we thank you and continue to like and share the page.
All right, thank you, Pastor Paul. Now, can you imagine a loved one dying and you look at the cemetery and you can only see 11 persons, and knowing that 11 persons surely do not represent the family? Now, Pastor Paul, I want to go back to you because somebody told me that you experienced a death during the COVID times. So, Pastor Paul, share a bit about that experience with us, bearing in mind that we're speaking about social distancing and the differences between having a death during this time and having a death before COVID. Over to you, Pastor Paul.
All right, this was a rough experience for me. Actually, the person who passed away was my cousin. He was like my brother, because actually the connection that we developed is because we were always close. But when I lost my mom and I alone used to live together, so he lived with me for a few months. So we developed a connection due to the death of my mom. And that particular day, he wasn't feeling well that morning because he was asthmatic. And he said that he wasn't feeling well. I visited him during the day. I stayed outside. He was inside. We spoke for a while. And I'm cutting a long story short, to get to the point of social distancing. The night I was home about after 10, and they called me and they say he wanted to go to the hospital. I arrived over there, rushed him to the hospital. The nurses and the doctors said they were doing their best. And in the space of about 15-20 minutes, they said, he's dead. He broke my heart. And when I tell you he broke my heart, it broke my heart. And after then, I had to be of support to the family, helping with the planning and all the different things and so on. But the part that really was very disturbing is that the family members, even in the US and even friends, and he's a very, very friendly guy. And he worked in a lot of different places, so he was well known. I'm speaking about Womack, for those of you who might wonder, I'm speaking about Womack Aldridge. And I decided, well, I'll try to stream the funeral in order to facilitate those who couldn't come. And even some of the community members said that they will just take a peep. And when you add that funeral service, then you have to maintain social distancing. And this was the time that even while I was there, I had to break the protocol. And the reason I did that is because, I mean, he had a friend, she's very close to him. And the grief was overwhelming, and she was just flat on the ground. I couldn't stay there and look at her. And I had to support her. I told them, just leave her alone, let she just ease herself. So just imagine you're there, and well, I was videoing the funeral. So when the grief overcame me, I had to leave and just walk behind the covering and just sit by a grave for a while. And then I have to remember that I'm videoing, so I have to come back and so on. And this was not only the hard part for me, and few people maybe know that after the funeral, when I came home, I left home. I told my wife, I said, babes, I need some time. And I left home. And I went up in the back of Richmond, up there where I normally go for spring water. And I just stayed up there and I just cried. I cried because I like to extend comfort. And as a pastor, you always tell people, you know, have the blessed hope that Jesus will come again and all those different things. And as a pastor now, you need to hear those words for yourself. You need to feel the embrace. You need to feel the comfort, and you can't feel that. So it was very, very, very difficult. And even after that, it was still difficult because I went over there where he lived, and I just walked down by the house, you know, casually. And when I reached there, I broke down again. I sat on the step for a while, and You know, he had some guys around there just watching me, his brothers, and they were just watching me, and you know, and they didn't say anything to me because I didn't want to do all the talking all the time, you know. But it has been a difficult experience. It is a difficult experience, and then when others cannot be drawn close to you because they have to exercise the 6 feet and the COVID-19 protocol, it makes it very difficult for an individual to deal with that. So what we actually did to deal with that situation, we encourage people who live in household. For example, his mother, her companion was there with her, so he will be able to embrace her and comfort her because they live in the same house. So things like that, but to just have nobody there for you, it's not easy at all. Thank you.
All right, Pastor Lambert, yeah, you made me emotional. That's the truth. I looked at Facebook and I can see Jason Aldridge saying it's sad, and I see Miriam Aldridge saying, I'm so sad I could not even get to say goodbye to him. It still hurts so badly. Now, it's so true, because being at a funeral on Wednesday, persons are there, and mind you, some persons took the risk. They wanted to come to see, to be close, but then we were warned by Pastor Lewis. He made it clear we needed to separate. So you're standing graves apart from persons. And I can tell you it was hard watching my husband in grief. And, you know, again, I had to videotape and try to be two places at the same time, but other persons could not draw close. Added to that, Pastor Lambert, the wearing of the mask at funeral, do you think it's added to the sadness a bit more, just looking at masked faces, Pastor Lambert?
All right. It's something that you never thought would happen, and at that funeral service, even on Thursday I did a funeral service, and it's just a whole set of masks, and then people are there, and you know, they are crying, and then some of them they have to remove the mask and wipe their faces. It was just something that, additionally to the loss of the loved one, create a level of grief. To know that we are living in such a terrible time that people have to just be masked up. And even this funeral as well, while we were there, the lady had lived for 89 years, and people decide, hey, I have to come and say something to Mama. I have to come and say something. I have to come and see Auntie. And there were so many people there. And we have to encourage them the social distancing. And unfortunately, the police came. And the police have to tell them they have to go out and stand in the cemetery, and only 10 persons that can be under the covering. So it's just a very difficult time. And some people, I saw some mothers, they hug the children hug.
Thank you. Now, thinking about the masked faces, in a lot of instances, grief is not something that you can mask, because behind the mask, we can see the shoulders drooping, we can see persons wiping, and there are persons trying to go forward, but remembering the social distancing. It's really hard to go through this at a time like this. Now we're going to stop, and we're going to have a special item of music. And if you know the song, wherever you are this time, I want you to sing along. Now we want to extend our sympathies and condolences to individuals who are viewing, who lost loved ones during this time, and persons who maybe during this program, you are now going through another stage of your grief as you remember lost loved ones. So let's listen to this song.
The words thy hands have made, I see the sun, I hear the rolling thunder, thy path throughout explain. Then it sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then it sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. And when I think of God, His Son not sparing, sent Him to die, I scarce can take it in, that on the cross my burden gladly bearing, He bled and died to take away my sins. Then it sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then it sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with shouts of acclamation, to take me home, what my God, how great thou art. Then sing my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then it sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art.
Earlier in the program, we heard from a young man who lost his brother at sea, wishing, hoping, praying that this was not the case. It took a while for him to face reality and to turn to God for strength and hope. Now, I want to bring back Keshawn on. And Keshawn, the question I have for you, having heard Pastor Paul's experience and the distancing in the funeral, is there anything that you wish could have been different in your situation, Keshawn?
Well, for me, what I wish could have been different is like a time to say goodbye. Like you just gone, he just gone, and if I had the assurance that I would see him again, it would have been comforting. But I still trust in God. I still trust him that I will see him again. Because 1 Thessalonians 4 and verse 16 said, "For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout of the archangel and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise forth." When you hear that text, the dead in Christ shall rise forth, that gives a hope. That gives a comforting scene. In the case of Pastor Lambert experience, it's kind of hard for him to deal because like there wasn't that support because of the COVID-19. There wasn't that support, but I had all that support, and I had all that sympathizing with me, and I thank God for that.
All right, now Ronald Phillip is sending condolences, and he says, Revelation 20. One 4 gives hope, and God shall wipe away all tears from
Hands on you. And just bridging off a little, diverting from the question that you asked me. I lost my mom first, and this was one of a serious thing. However, when I lost my mom, it was very sudden as well. She was only 48 years. She got so even though people around you might seem as though they're not that as though they do not care, and or they cannot extend the compassion and the condolences physically.
has been touched with my grief. All right, so we met two young men who were, or 2 young men who are acquainted with grief. And we know that Jesus himself is a man acquainted with grief. So I want to thank Brother Keshawn and Pastor Paul for sharing their testimony that they gained through this time and sharing their experiences. With us. Okay, now wherever you are, we want you to continue liking. We have 2 persons who will be able to guide us as to the proper way to manage our grief and how to cope as we go through. So at this time, I will pause and I will allow these 2 professionals to introduce themselves.
Hello, good night, everyone. Happy Sabbath. My name is Shelly-Ann Lewis. I'm a counselor by profession and a member of the Richmond SDA Church. And I'm thankful for being here to be part of this timely discussion that is so needed at this time. And while I'm here, I want to extend condolences to Pastor Paul and Brother Keshawn on their loss of their close family members. Thank you.
All right, good night, everyone. My name is Lenny's Paul. I am a clinical community psychologist and also a guidance counselor attached to the Ministry of Education. And a member of the Busheju SDA Church. And I am very happy to be here tonight to share with
Church. So my first question is, can one really get closure from a funeral? Can going to a funeral give you closure?
ways at different times and in different contexts. No 2 persons grieve the same way. And secondly, I want to establish that there are stages of grief that persons experience. Now, these stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. These stages can help persons process the grief and loss that they are experiencing. Now, in light of funeral rituals have its role in the grief process. The role of the funeral ritual, it has 3 main tasks. The first is to dispose of the body of the deceased person in an appropriate way. The second is to make the death real. And finally, is to help the bereaved persons to overcome the individual, family, social, and spiritual disintegration experienced after death. As these tasks are accomplished, individuals are able to move from one stage of grief or from one process to another. For example, someone who is stuck in the denial stage, seeing the person's process their grief to the stage of acceptance. Now, I prefer the term acceptance to that of closure, because closure means that an individual has received answers to questions that they seek in order to move on. Acceptance, on the other hand, is accepting the reality that our loved one is physically gone and recognizing that this new reality is a permanent one. When it comes to the grief process, these are two different concepts. You may never get the answers back.
Right. Thank you again. Yes, there are benefits, as Pastor Paul mentioned in the scripture text, that even God promised that those who are mourn will definitely be comforted. Yes, and hugs, having a supportive family, supportive persons around you, help the individual who's grieving to cope, as well as to go through the process of grief. As my esteemed colleague had outlined in detail, grief is different stages, and grief, there's no time limit to grief. The support system around you to shoulder your grief, to help you share that burden, to listen, to provide that additional support when you can't even support yourself. It helps you to cope with the loss. and go through the process and the healing process. A lot of thoughts like intent. Long. Stuck in and seem to can't get out of, to reach that stage of acceptance that the person is no longer there. So that's my 2 bits on that.
Okay, for me, I wrote in a book. I cried. I got angry. I looked for somebody to blame for not being given the opportunity to say goodbye. I know women will weep and men will try to stay strong because they believe it's not right for a man to cry. No, what are some ways
And go through the process of grieving if it is you're physically weakening yourself. All right? So it's very, very important to eat, encourage a person, even if it's a cup of tea and a sandwich, but to put something in them. It's important to ensure that they rest. If it is that you go to the doctor and the doctor might, prescribe medication to help them to sleep so that they could rest. Because if your mind is not rested, then the grief will get further complicated.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. In addition to what Shelley said, I feel the need to share some symptoms or signs that we can look out for in our loved ones to note when it's time for us to intervene, when they are grieving and the grief process, they're not grieving in a healthy way. So if you notice that the person is depressed, as we mentioned before, or they are expressing a desire to join the deceased, they're longing for the deceased, they are expressing intense sorrow or distress, they are isolating themselves, so they're staying locked up in their rooms, they're not coming out, they're not talking to anyone, they are in a persistent state of denial or disbelief, and they are not functioning. So there is an impairment in their social, occupational, or other areas of their life. Now, these are some symptoms that we look for and we can say, okay, this is a moment now where I think you need intervention. And specifically, I'm sharing this for parents, some signs that you can look out for in your children. If you notice that your child is having nightmares, if they are having appetite or sleep disturbances, they're having difficulty sleeping, they started having or showing behavioral issues, they're acting out. Those are some symptoms that you look for as well. Bedwetting after the death of someone is a sign that that child is not coping properly and they need help. And one key factor, if someone is expressing that they have suicidal thoughts or they attempted suicide, that's a number one trigger to say that you need to get help for that person. Back to you, Madam Moderator.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right, so I nearly had the death of my phone. It was a very grievous process for me at this time, trying to studio, the technical difficulties, and all of these are effects of COVID-19. Now, we heard that there are different ways that we can mismanage our grief. All right, now the question is, are there some things that can aid in managing and overcoming our grief? Are there some things that can aid in managing and overcoming our grief? So I hear from Sister Lenise first.
Okay, yes, there are some ways by which we can manage and cope with our grief in a healthy way. Now I'm going to share the number one, or what I would say is one of the most important things: trusting God. Spend time communing with God through prayer and Bible study. Acknowledge your pain. It is okay to cry, and it's okay to not be okay. Accept that grief can trigger different and unexpected emotions. You will feel angry. You will feel sad. Those things or those emotions are normal. Understand that your grieving process will be unique to you. No two persons grieve the same way. So don't grieve on another person's timeline. And don't allow anyone to tell you that it's time to stop crying or it's time to feel better again because you are grieving on your timeline. Seek support from the people who care about you. Turn to your family and friends. Support yourself emotionally by taking care of yourself physically and spiritually. You can join a support group, a grief support group. Talk to a mental health professional if your grief feels like it's too much to bear. You can try journaling. Write about your loss in a grief journal, or make a scrapbook or a photo album celebrating the person's life. Try to maintain hobbies and interests. There's comfort in routine and getting back to the activities that you enjoy. You can take up gardening, sewing, anything that can bring you that sense of comfort. Plan ahead for grief triggers. Anniversaries, holidays, and milestones can reawaken memories and feelings. Be prepared and know that it is completely normal. Now, even listening to us talk about grief tonight might trigger some feelings and emotions that you have. That's normal as well. That's okay. And sing or listen to music. Music has the power to affect both your body and your brain. When your brain and your body are relaxed, your daily functioning can improve. As the Pathfinder Law says, keep a song in my heart. Shelley?
Sister Lenise, you outline everything, right? I endorse all that was shared by my colleague, right? Because at this time, you need to seek support for grief and loss. It's impossible to go by yourself and grieve. It is because grief is such an emotional response. It is only natural the person who is grieving to withdraw from others, to want to isolate yourself. That's the first thing, because you don't want persons to see you cry. Some guys don't like persons to see the tears because outside it's a sign of weakness, right? But tears is a way, God put those tear bags there as a way for your body to heal while you grieve. So don't isolate yourself, seek support, turn to your friends and families, as my colleague explained, Also accept the comfort from your family and your friends. Yeah, because they care about you. And if you have close ones who are grieving, remember, even if they're not comfortable receiving the comfort, receiving the love that you want to share it with them, right? Still give it. Just flood them with it, because deep down it helps them to cope. So, and I also want to add that, yes, your faith in God is very important. Yeah, holding on to the promises that only God can comfort us during this time of loss, especially as I remember Pastor Lambert, he was sharing how because of the COVID-19, we now have virtual grieving. You know, this inability to not connect with your family or even go through that whole process of having that funeral ritual service. It puts persons at a greater disadvantage in not getting that closeness and that support that they need. So virtually stay in contact with those individuals. WhatsApp, video, Zoom, have Zoom conferences. You know, keep your connection with them consistent so that the person do not feel alone, neither isolated during this time.
Okay, so I see Ian Bola saying, I've learned that you go through the process, express your emotion no matter how hard. Never postpone your grief. It will take more time to get over it. Now, Sister Lenise, we have Ronald Phillip. He's asking, can celebrating birthdays or other special events of a loved one prolong the grief? Some persons cherish those past moments, but they are normally saddened when they do. Can celebrating birthdays or other special events of loved ones prolong the grief, Sister Lenise?
I wouldn't say that it can prolong the grief. As a matter of fact, it can help in the grieving process. Now, it depends on the reason why you are celebrating the birthdays and anniversaries. If it is that you're doing that to remember the memories of the person and it's done in a healthy way, then yes, it can help the grieving process. But if it is that you are doing it in a way where you are anticipating the person's return, or you are hoping that when you do that, you will actually see them show up, then those are unhealthy ways in which you're grieving. So it depends on the manner in which you do it and the process in which it is done. But it can be a healthy way to remember the person and to have their memories stay on with you.
Okay, all right. So we are ready for our other question, and we're still dealing with grief. I see Sister Sally Charles Palmer saying, blaming is a normal stage of grief. And I think she's responding to Valerie and L. Miles Phillip, who asked, some people blame God. How can you convince them to trust him? And Sister Palmer is saying, blaming is a normal stage of grief. And many blame God. And many blame God. All the family needs to do is to be there and provide a shoulder and a listening ear. Avoid trying to convince them otherwise. This can be a little bit stressful. So, although Sister Palmer said that blame is a normal stage of grief, is it something that people will do for a short period of time? Is it something that can last for years, for months? Sister Lenny or Sister Shelley?
Okay. All right, I will answer this. Yes, blaming is part of the process. Remember, those stages are just guidelines, the stages that was outlined by Lenise earlier. You know, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. All of it's not a fixed. I just want everyone to understand, it's not fixed. Right? The person who introduced the stages was like Kubler-Ross, I think is her name. Right. It wasn't meant to be a fixed thing. Like, okay, I must go through denial or I must go through acceptance or no. It was just something just to to help persons understand the process. Because remember, we are all emotional beings, and you cannot put emotions in a box. Everybody feels differently, everyone experiences differently, everybody go through the process of grief differently. Some persons recover faster than others. It takes time, right? So you just have to allow the person to be, allow your feelings to flow in a healthy way, because acknowledging the feelings are all of this is also part of the process, right? Facing those feelings. In addition, I think I repeated myself. I think I said everything already. Just add a moment there, go ahead.
Yeah, so just to add to what Shelly said, blaming is normal. Feeling angry at some persons, yes, they would blame God, they would feel angry, they might feel angry at themselves, wondering what is it that I could have done to prevent the person from dying if I had done this, or probably if I had done something differently, or I did not get to say goodbye and I'm angry. There's no set in stone way for grieving. As Shelly rightly said, you just allow the person to go through the process. You be there for them as a support system. You guide them through, you help them through, and you watch out for the signs and symptoms that would indicate that they are trending along the path of grieving in an unhealthy manner. Shelly?
Yes, right? So as there is no right or wrong way to grieve, yeah, but we have unhealthy ways where we deal with the grieving process. And this is what we're trying to discourage, the unhealthy ways in which persons are drawn to in order to grieve. And I'm sure later in the program, we will share healthier ways to grieve and go through this grieving process.
Okay, thank you. Now we know that this time is extraordinary, and we have to acknowledge that we are faced with limitations and restrictions, correct, right? Now, what tips especially, and we want you to now get Christ-centered now, some Christ-centered tips can you provide for young people and older people alike, our entire population, our viewing audience, to better manage and deal with their grief? So, Sister Lenise, you will go first. You will give us some tips, and then Sister Shelly will add some others.
Okay, so we can safely say that COVID-19 has changed the way we have done a lot of things. It has changed the way we socialize, it changed the way we learn, it changed the way we work, it changed the way we fellowshipped, and it most definitely has changed the way in which we have said goodbye to our deceased loved ones and the way in which we grieve. Now, we have family members who would have died and we were not able to attend the funeral service. And even if we were able to, we had to, as Pastor Paul said, physically distance ourselves from persons. We were not able to hug. And then we have instances where we cannot even allow persons in our homes to provide that form of social support that we're accustomed to. Now, these are unprecedented times. And for some of us, COVID-19 would always remain with us, that era. It would remain with us in the fact that we would always remember that we were not able to grieve the way we expected to or we wanted to. Now, during our time of grief, I want us to remember that God says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand." And that's Isaiah 41:10. So as Proverbs says in chapter 3 and verse 5 and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge God and he will direct your path. And one of my favorite passages is Revelation 21:4. And I heard Keshawn say it before, so I'll just reiterate it. God says that he will wipe every tear from our eyes. There shall be no more death, no sorrow, no crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. So trust in God. He is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If ever you feel the need to talk to someone, don't be afraid to reach out to your church leaders, your members, your friends, or even to seek professional help. Needing help or grieving is not a sign of weakness. It is not a sign that you are spiritually weak. It is a sign that you are going through something, that you are experiencing a loss, and you need that support and you need that guidance to help you grieve in a healthy way. And finally, even if we are not able to physically support persons, I want to admonish every one of us to reach out through the different means of technology. We have WhatsApp, we can call, we can send a text message, we can send a card. Physically distancing does not mean that we have to socially.
Yes. A Christ-centered way of grieving. Now, I always like to reflect on, Christ's approach in terms of when he had to face the cross the next day. He went up and he prayed and he cried, drops of blood, and he poured out his heart to his Father. Brothers and sisters, God is asking us to do the same, right? In you and what you're going through. And he already knows, but he just wants us to go to him. He wants us to pour it out on him and seek his comfort. Because when you cry to the Lord, and I have personal experience when I experience loss and I take it to God and I cry and I argue and all my emotions I went through and I vented. And then I comfort myself with his promises, and I start to receive. His comfort, receive his help. And he gave me that strength day to
back. No, I thank God for having my back. No. I am wondering, is it possible that spending when you're going through grief?
Yes, again, we can't stress the importance of social support during your grieving time. We need each other. No man is an island, right? Adam needed Eve, and God recognized the need and provided Eve, right? We need people, we need to feel love, we need you in that process is very important. Two, when we experience loss, it's unnatural to want to appreciate those around us. Because look how sudden things happen. Like Brother Keshawn, he didn't expect that phone. Right? You have your wife next to you, your children around you, your aunts, your grandma, your nene, all your friends. Let them know that you love them and you appreciate them. Forget the wrong, yesterday gone, right? Accept them and let them know, hey, I love you still. Yeah, even if you eat my last corn, give them the flowers when they are alive.
Yes, I support everything that Sister Shelley has said. It is very important to let our family members know, one, that we love and we appreciate them, and two, let them know when we need help. If it is that our grief process is not working out the way that we want it to. And family support and social support when we are grieving. It can also help the persons, you sit and you talk about the pleasant memories. You talk about all the things that you remember about the persons, you relive the happy times. And that also is a part of helping you with the grieving process, right? So that's also a good thing to do.
All right, now I want to re-engage Pastor Lambert, and while Pastor Lambert is getting ready to come back on, I'm asking you to share your prayer request. Are there some things that you will like us to pray? A poem, some personal or customized words, a song, something to let somebody know I may not be able to be close to you socially, but I want you to know that I'm there and that I still care. So I'm looking for Pastor Lambert, and I want Pastor Lambert to share some of the sentiments that are being shared on our YouTube page. And then I will have Pastor Lambert and Brother Keshawn ask our panelists one question. So Pastor Lambert. All right, so we're waiting on Pastor. Lambert. I hope it's not.
She had, though he knew she's not there, because they shared so much together, he still go by the graveside and just sit down and bring flowers, you know, rested there. Maybe just talking to the person. Right? Now, this is healthy up to a point if the person has already accepted that the person is gone. Right? I just want everybody to understand and not misunderstand. The person already accepts that the person is gone, but they just go. Hey, you know what those big grandchildren did today, and they're just sharing these stages. I hope that helped. But if it's only become unhealthy, if it is that the person is still, the grieving process is still intense for that individual, where they refuse to accept that. Person is gone.
Functioning, they can't go to work, they cannot eat, they cannot sleep, and every living, waking moment. But someone who is visiting the graveside and just saying, hi, how you know, having a conversation with the person, or they can do it with a picture at home, you know, with something that is memorable to them, then those things are healthy. But if, as Shelley rightly said, it's not a case where – 12 months, 6 months has passed, and the intensity
beliefs, but as you rightly said, people will deal with grief differently. And it's important that we face the reality that the person towards the future. Remember, we ask him to share your prayer platforms are thanking God for this program, and they're expressing their gratitude for information that was shared. And I believe that this program was God-led and directed to some particular persons. All right, God knows who he wanted to touch tonight, and I have faith that he is. But apart from the questions that I asked, is there any information that you want to share with our viewing audience, maybe not for themselves, but information they can?
A lot of times when we hear that someone has lost a loved one, we're quick to share our experiences. We're quick to say what we did earlier. Someone who is blaming, someone who is angry. Allow them to share those feelings without judgment. Be that safe space where they can say exactly how they feel. You can offer to do chores for them. Offer to clean their kitchen, because at that time, the person, at the time when they're grieving, they might feel as if they're a bit non-functional at the time. They might not be eating, they might not be sleeping as they should. Cook a meal and bring it over to them. Take some vegetables and fruits from your garden and bring it for them. That can be helpful for them as well. Offer to help them clean their kitchen. Offer to take their kids to school, the parents. Offer to help the children with their homework. Those are ways in which we can be supportive to persons. And make contact. Always let persons know that you're thinking of them. Even if it means making a brief call, drop off support for persons who are grieving. So those are just some of the tips that I wanted to share that I didn't get the opportunity to share before. Shelley?
And to be strong in the face of loss. You know, some people say you have to be strong. You know, you can't show weakness. No, that is a myth. It's okay to feel sad and frightened or or lonely. It is a normal reaction to loss. Crying does not mean that you're weak or you don't need to protect your family. You know, some person they don't want the family to see them crying because they will feel like you're not strong enough. But grieving together as a family, show that everybody is feeling it together. Does not mean you've accepting the loss. You have accepted. Accepted the loss, you know, it's not the same as forgetting. You still remember the person, but you go. And everyone grieve differently, and allow yourself to grieve. That is your right.
I'm really in one person asking to pray for persons who are sick. A number of persons are really asking us to pray for their family. We have a number of prayer requests for family members, not just our immediate family, extended family. And we even have prayer requests for persons asking that we pray for our church family. So Brother Keshawn will join us as he offers a word of prayer, lifting up all the prayer requests and others that may not be in.
Thank you, O Lord, for protecting us, dear Lord, for healing us, dear Lord. We thank you, O God, for everything that you have done for us, dear Lord. Heavenly Father, we come humble in your presence, dear Lord, giving you all the glory and all the honor and all the praise, dear Lord. For you are a mighty God, dear Lord. You are the King of kings and Lord of lords, dear Lord. And we just worship you, dear Lord. Heavenly Father, we come humbling before you, dear Lord, asking, dear Lord, that you comfort those who comfort, dear Lord, in marriage. Heavenly Father, I pray, dear Lord, for those, dear Lord, that are confused, dear Lord. Dear Lord, please help that they might trust in you, dear Lord, and that they might trust that you could work out everything for them, dear Lord. Dear Lord, please help that they might cast all the problems at your feet, dear Lord. Heavenly Father, at this time I pray for the sick ones in the hospital, dear Lord. I pray for the sick ones at home, dear Lord. Heavenly Father, the nurses and the doctors are confused, dear Lord. Even those in the laboratory, dear Lord, that are studying medicine are confused, dear Lord. But dear Lord, you, dear Lord, are the King of Kings and Lord of cry out to you, dear Lord, to save them. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, I pray
with young persons as they deal with grief. This is Youth Life Unplugged.
Lord, I come before you with contrite heart. Humbly I surrender all that I am. I want to learn from you. Please draw me close to you. Help me share your love and grace in all I do. Lord, I come before you with contrite heart. Humbly I surrender all that I am. I want to learn from you. Please draw me close to you. Let me share your love and grace in all I do. Oh Lord, transform me shine a light to a darkened world, and always live your truth in every way. May your love for me be seen by everyone, and lead others to trust and love you more.